Welcome to Miss Market Uptrend, and today we will talk about the world top events in 2022. The first one is the world faced an energy and food crisis. The Russian-Ukraine conflict that erupted at the end of February 2022 skyrocketed energy price and global actual money. On March 7th, gas price nearly doubled when compared to before the conflict. In March, realized food price index of FAO reached a new high of 159 points. Sanctions retaliation between the United States, Europe, and Russia have resulted in a decrease in oil and gas supplies and a sharp increase in price. Genius and geopolitical tensions have disrupted global supply chains and exacerbated utilization, slowing growth. The second news is central banks raise interest rate sharply to deal with inflation. The U.S. Federal Reserve began the trend of raising interest rate on March 16 with a 0.25 percentage point increase, the first in 3 years. The Fed increased interest rate 7 times in 2022 to 425 point to 400 from 4.25 to 4.5%, which is the highest level since 2007. The European Central Bank raised interest rates for the first time in 11 years on July 21 and then increased them 3 times more. After a period of near-zero interest rate to support economic growth during the pandemic, central banks sharply raised interest rates again to cool inflation at a multi-decade high. Third one is the euro fell below the dollar. On September 15, the euro fell below the dollar for the first time in 20 years, with a transaction of €1 for $1.9880. The reason for this is that as a result of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, Europe is facing an energy crisis and the risk of severe economic downturn. In addition, the disparity in interest rates and government bond yields between the US and Europe has prompted investors to switch from euros to USD. The fourth news is COP27 established a special fund to offset the loss and damage caused by climate change. The 27th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Egypt from November 6 to 20 adopted a general climate agreement, with the most notable initiative being the establishment of a special fund to offset the loss and damage caused by climate change impacts. After nearly 30 years of negotiations, this is a historic step toward gaining access to financial resources to compensate for loss and damage caused by the effects of climate change. Next is OPEC Plus cuts biggest output since 2020. Members of the OPEC and the partners agree on October 5th in Vienna, Austria, to cut 2 million barrels of oil per day, which is 2% of global supply, beginning in November 2022. This is OPEC Plus' largest production cut since April 2020 to prevent a sharp drop in oil price. This OPEC Plus decision has raised concern about the availability of oil, exacerbate inflation, and slow global growth. And the last one, global stock markets plummet. The world stock index fell 21% to 597.64 points on June 13 from its peak in mid-November 2021. Since this session, global stocks have been in a long-term downtrend as inflation has risen. Global stock markets experienced a sell-off as investors worry that the U.S. Federal Reserve would accelerate interest rate hikes. The International Monetary Fund has warned that the stock market could go into hibernation if the recession is severe. And that's the end of our topic today. Thank you for listening.